Okay.
Okay, it is 6 o'clock. We'll start our hearing. Everybody has a copy of the solar ordinance. Oh, we do. We can do that. Do we start with the pledge?
We can.
That's up to you.
Let's start with the vote.
Okay, we have it before. We can pledge allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. The meeting of this is to discuss the ordinance. It's already been to the lawyer. This is what the townspeople will be voting on in June at the election, or at the town meeting. So if you have questions, concerns, we can answer questions.
So I want,
Isn't there a CEO, somebody's got a final draft?
well, the code enforcement officer added one small point that will be included after this meeting.
Okay.
And his suggestion, just FYI, is that, there's a question we asked about deviations that need planning board approval. It's a procedural question that he's asking here. He said perhaps we should consider a pre-commissioning inspection, at least by the fire chief, to make sure that all safety compliance has been adhered to. That's all. So we'll probably add in a pre-commissioning.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
That's him, they've already had one fire.
If you notice that
Right,
the bottom of the first page where there's a line through some words, that means we've deleted it.
yeah.
So just in case you don't want to read all 17 pages, 12 pages, not forget. Some key points. The select board met after the last public hearing with the planning board, and they had a discussion about what do we want to do in the town as far as regulating solar. And the conversation focused on not wanting to look like Farmington and have giant fields full of solar panels. And because we don't have any regulations, we've had a lot of inquiries from people who want to put in some very, very big solar farms. And I think the feeling was, we don't want to look like that necessarily. I think it affects the character of the town, it affects animal wintering areas, other things. So the suggestion of the select board was to limit the number of large solar farms, and large is defined as 6 to 30 acres to 1, which there's already one behind the nursing home. So like that's it, if this ordinance passes. We have up to 3 medium-sized solar farms, and those are ½ acre to just under 6 acres. And of course, and there's and up to ½ acre is just unlimited. So if you want personal solar on your property, like yay, great for renewable energy, save electricity costs perhaps. That's all, that's great. Other things that were discussed that night and were included in this are the idea of making some bigger setbacks so that you're back from the edge of the road, you're back from the adjoining properties a little further than the current one is. There includes in here some buffer plantings, because even the neighbors, we are mixed. Some people like, I don't care that this stays right next to my property. Other people are like, I hate it, they're ugly, I don't want them visible from the road. Can we put up a certain amount of buffer planting? We did have a fire at the one up behind the villa a month or so ago, and so right after that, I got a call from the fire chief saying, hey, this ordinance, can you make sure you're including this, this, and this? Because mostly those fences are locked. They need to know how to get in, the fire department does. They wanted to make sure that they're set back from the fence far enough that they can get fire equipment in as needed. And they need to know where to shut off the power if there's something that's bigger than this particular fire that happened up there. So we included some fire safety precautions in the ordinance. There was also included in there, if you're putting solar on your roof, there's some national standard requesting a certain amount of setback from the edge of the roof, so the firemen can again get up there and either break a hole in the roof if they need to, or leave their ladders up, whatever. So you can't have your solar panels right up to the edge of the roof on that primary residence. There was some conversation here about application fees, and then assuming you get permitted, then there is potentially an annual permitting fee. So those are the kind of the key elements that are good. There's a lot of other nuances, but those are the big ticket items, I think. And we're happy to do any discussion on any topic.
Okay, I'd like to talk about, small scale, what's that called?
Okay,
Yeah. The permit fee is $25. But not, or get approval of one. For any
I think
SES system.
the permit fee was a normal building permit fee. I believe,
Is that $25?
I think it's 50 as a building permit fee, right? There's a fee schedule the town has for building permits.
Yes.
It's on the fee schedule.
Okay.
So we don't list it here
Yeah.
because we say it's on that schedule.
That should be corrected.
Well, and to a point, the fee schedule is set by the selectmen.
Yeah, on page 3, under section 5B, these are application fees, right? Will be the apparent in the town fee schedule. This ordinance recommends the large scale of 2,500, medium scale of 500, small scale, the standard building permit fee. Are you suggesting that it should be something else, or are you okay with that?
Well, I'm saying is also $1 per kilowatt.
So that's
And a
an
small
annual,
scale.
that's an annual permit fee. There was some discussion and the town's lawyer said everybody else who's doing it are actually having annual fees, so the town gets a little bit of revenue. And that's a suggestion, looking at several other town
So
ordinances.
$1 per kilowatt.
Right.
On the medium and large scales.
Correct. Okay. That's on medium and large only.
That's wrong.
That's on medium and large only. If we read item 5, section C, those annual permit fees are for medium and large scale facilities only.
So on anything less
A
than
private
half
home.
an acre or up to a half an acre, it'd just be the building permit fee and no annual fee.
The private homeowner would not have to do theirs yearly.
Diana, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I got another question.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Diana, if you have any questions. I know. We gotta get the good ear.
It's good, man. You're up, Rick.
I'm up. You got a 30-day review period. From what the planning board and the CEO.
Here is it.
And then you got a 30-day waiting period. After applicant is deemed complete, compliant, shared with the public and compatible with town law, planning board, and communicate to the select board. And we'll get their review in 30 days, so 60 days. If everything goes well, you can get a permit. I mean, you could start building is. You know, SES.
So once an application and the application fees are submitted to the town office, the planning board and the CEO start a review and they have 30 days to complete that review.
Doesn't mean it has to take the whole thing.
No,
Sorry.
we could move faster.
Well, you probably will, it's, some of it's gonna be really easy for CEO and the planning board to accept, I mean, it's clear, as small, you know, that's the guy, and that's what I'm thinking about. So I hope you can, I don't know, I don't plan on doing it, but, now you've made, I gotta wait 60 days, maybe you want it. No, I'm just kidding.
The way the weather's going.
Right. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Sorry.
Diane, did you have something to say?
Well, I just wondered what the advantage of having these solar panels. You get it for revenue, you're already taxing the property it's on, right? So other than the permit, do you get any other?
You know, I don't know if the appraised value of that property now goes up because it has this panel on it, and that gets,
I have not talked.
therefore the
to
town
Paul.
gets higher revenue. I don't think we know.
Do not know that answer.
So from my understanding, talking with Paul last week, and I don't have all of the information yet, I reached out to him and asked for some more. There It's not like the windmills, we can't tax them the same as the windmills, so there's not an easy way to do it in terms of like personal property tax or something like that. There is, however, another program that you can go through to try to recover some of that. But it is not near what we could get if we could tax it like the windmills.
This isn't going under like the Betty program or anything, so it's completed, which is business equipment tax
Exemption,
exemption program. No. Is it an exemption?
something like that. Yeah, there's another option that we're looking at, and he has some information that will be coming our way shortly.
I believe it's similar to how we have money coming in from Whitney Brookside, because they're a non-profit status. But in lieu of taxes, we basically get a donation from them. I believe from what you had said, it's going to be
Like I say, he didn't have,
similar, but
he
I
didn't
don't
have a
know.
lot of information, he's gonna get it to us, so. Hopefully we'll have it soon.
So the governor has put forth a statewide initiative to try to promote as much renewable energy as possible. And that, as has the federal government, right, which is why everybody's rushing to do it, because there's subsidies on the capital investment for the people that are owning those, right? So they're selling the electricity and they're getting a discount or a discounted price on the actual equipment itself. At some point, those will go away.
Yep.
But they've built them, they've gotten their rebates, they got their tax incentives. Now it's down to the pure, is the energy cost cheaper than other generation methods? I mean, personally, I'm all for renewable energy. I think we need more of it, but I'm happy to put it on my own property and get off grid, myself. I don't. I think the one we have is doing a great job up there. Their fire it was interesting because it was a transformer, I guess, or a transfer station unit in the center of that piece. And somebody who was working on it flipped the wrong switch and it gave it a surge and it exploded. Nobody was hurt. But in discussing what happens if there is a fire in one of those places, the units themselves are not all made of good materials, right? So if they burn, there's a potential hazardous gas concern.
Nice.
So, no, the fire department's aware of it, they're working on how do you manage that?
Yeah.
Like evacuating people close by, kind of thing.
Wow. That's good.
I think the other concern that people raised at the last meeting was the use of any kind of pesticide to keep the grass down around the solar panels. And so we restricted in the ordinance, the suggestion is to restrict like no Roundup, none of those kinds of things that will potentially seep into the water table or make that ground unusable for a long period of time. So you either have to mow it. Somebody said they're gonna put goats in there, solar panel, chop up the grass, but no chemicals.
We have an ordinance for no chemicals for people spraying the lawns and stuff too.
We should,
Or what about the farmers spraying toxic chemicals?
that's right, the state has regulations on that.
Well, they do, but they're still toxic and it's just spraying.
And that's governed by state.
But it's toxic chemicals, I'm saying. And it subsidizes, the state, federal government subsidizes everything. Fuel, taxes, everything, farming, trucking, it subsidizes everything in different ways. Some more than others, obviously.
Yep,
And then on that small scale solar thing, how come it's 10 feet? 10 feet, you're eliminating solar trackers, which is the most efficient unit there ever is.
I don't understand what you're saying, can you explain?
The height on a small scale thing is 10 feet.
Mhm.
I told that to you guys the last time, you still on there. So you're limiting a solar tracker, which is over 10 feet.
Oh, the
It's a
solar
more
tracker that
efficient-
follows the sun. I understand what you're saying now.
Yeah, but even if somebody wants to do ground mounts, you're limiting them the height wise. So they wouldn't have to take up so much land.
That's a great question, I think that's something
Yeah.
that could be adjusted. Oh, there we go, maximum height of 10 feet.
And does that also go for roof mounts, 10 feet?
No,
Well, it says total 10 feet, doesn't say, doesn't specify total
What page?
roof or whatever.
page 6, large and medium scale ground mounted solar energy systems.
See, it says ground mounted,
That's specifically
not
says
house
ground.
mounted, ground.
Really.
And it specifically says large and medium scale. Not small.
I'm gonna double check the small one.
No, it's on page 9, man.
Yeah, page 9,
Okay.
you're right, it's there as well.
Sorry, I didn't get that far yet.
Does any total active cells or arrays must be
Yeah.
subject to a maximum height of 10 feet above the ground surface? So it doesn't say roof or anything else, it just says, so if you measure from the ground, then a house, most houses are over 10
Well,
feet.
yeah, that, right above that, it says small scale ground mounted solar energy systems.
Right.
Roof mounted doesn't have any limits on it.
Guess I don't see where you said that first thing.
So on page 9, right above those bottom 2 bullets, is ground mounted.
The underlying one,
Yeah, and page 10 is roof mounted.
that's still, I mean, that's knocking out a tracker, I don't understand why.
Well, that's a good point, and we'll look at what the average height of a solar tracker is, and see if we can put a
They're
range.
different, depends on how many panels you put on it.
So we can put a range in there perhaps, and
Well, I don't think it's necessarily knocking it out, it's just saying, depending on how many panels you could put on it.
Well,
It's not saying it,
the normal height is gonna be over 10 feet, I put in quite a few of them, so. The average height is over
Yeah.
10 feet.
good point.
Because there's so many feet off the ground to begin with, then your panels are on there, they can tilt and follow the sun.
I think we had talked about when it was flat and not tracking, that was the 10 feet, so if it stands up, it could be higher, but I don't remember, we'd have to go back to our notes.
I don't know.
But thank you.
wasn't In on that conversation.
We'll take a look at that again.
Then the other thing, I don't understand. So there's only X amount of people that decide to put these ordinances in there,
No, it's being
No.
voted on at
No.
town meeting.
town size,
then I said, I guess my question is worded right, this ordinance was written up by somebody,
Yes,
Yeah,
and certain things are put into the ordinance.
right.
Well, I come to the meeting, I said, well, why not have a larger one, and nobody, so many people on the panel don't want a larger one,
Mhm.
so that is in here.
Correct.
right.
so
I
if,
did ask how to change that.
so if the town does,
Let me finish. I did ask how to change it, so you could put it in different. And my thing is with that, there's people that pay taxes on this land. You people are telling, you know, I'm not telling you not to farm, I'm not telling you not to build a house or nothing, but you're telling people that they can't do this. And generate income from it.
Jim,
So-
It doesn't mean that. I'm not-
so the way it goes is at town meeting, this will be voted on.
no,
If the
but
town decides that they don't like it, or they want changes to it, you vote no, it doesn't go forward, it goes back to the planning board for development all over again. And then there are things that can be adjusted or not. The process is, it goes before planning board. They have public hearings, things get brought up, the planning board as a group says, okay, this was brought up, what do we think about it, what are other towns doing? Stuff gets drafted, it goes to the attorneys, they do their review of it, it comes back to the select board and the planning board, we bring it back for another public hearing, then it goes to the town for the town to decide. And then if it doesn't go, it starts all over again.
But the thing is, there was only a certain amount of people that decide this code in this thing.
Right, that's the way it goes. That's how all of our ordinances are done.
That's
Yeah, but
how,
it didn't have to be in there, did it?
That's what we chose to put in there.
Yeah,
It did
that's
not
my
have
point.
to be that on any of the other ordinances, it's what we voted to
But
do.
we ask for people to come, and if they don't come and share your opinions, there's nothing we can do. We have to move forward.
So it's one man against everybody, is that what it is?
No, this is
No.
not the first public
the
hearing that we've
entire
had
town
on
will
this.
vote on it.
Well, he was.
Decide.
Yeah, he was.
Okay, one other point, right, the bank. There's other ways to get revenue out of these solar systems, and you people aren't looking outside the box.
Jim.
That has
We did
nothing
this
to do
without
with
a
it.
ban.
Let me finish, maybe somebody would understand something a little better. You have the fire department that uses X amount of electricity, correct? You have the town garage that uses X amount of electricity. You have this that uses X amount of electricity, maybe you could make a deal with a solar company or whatever, to have so many acres that would produce our electricity. Now, the town of Norway got a grant for their panels. Hiram, I don't know how many other towns did from the federal government. And there's an opportunity there that maybe it's not money coming in, but you're not paying out in the tax bill.
Well, that, you're talking of the town of Norway and the other town you mentioned, you're talking about something completely different. And that would fall under the personal solar that they got that grant for. It was for their town. Hartford was another town that happened to. And they got a grant, yes, to and they chose with that particular grant because those people came and talked to us too. And they chose to use that grant money to do a project to put solar panels on the roof of the town office. The town of Woodstock, I believe, went with the same grant and they chose to do an energy audit to see how much energy the town is using. So that specific grant that you're talking about for those towns is completely different from the solar ordinance that we're working on tonight.
But there has,
I'd like to.
but there's certain,
That could give money to the town in a different way, that's all.
So I'm gonna follow it up with, we are in that process. We've already signed on to the same grant group to look into that same process. They came and met with us back 3-4 months ago.
Yeah, something like
Was,
that.
we signed the intent letter, everything's moving forward, we are looking at it. So I guess from sitting at the table, just because things are worded a certain way in an ordinance, don't assume that we're not looking at things. Because I can tell you from sitting at the table, we are looking at alternative energy sources, we are looking at ways to bring taxes down, we are looking at solar, we are looking at a lot of things. Just because this is worded a certain way, doesn't mean that we're not looking at things to try to help reduce taxes. Because a lot of people are working in a lot of different ways to try to help things.
there was a sentence in here somewhere, that said, if the town establishes its own solar field for the use of the town to reduce taxes, it's not covered by some of the same regulations. But I don't know where that
Isn't
is.
that open it up for a lawsuit, though?
I don't know. Maybe, it was in there initially, maybe the lawyer took it out. I have to go back and look again. I'm just looking to see where that is.
I do remember seeing that in that thing.
Yeah, I don't wonder where it is. Oh, maybe we'll see.
Ordinances, to be honest.
I'll take a look at that again, but I thought we had put in here
Yes.
that if the town wanted to either use the bio land or use its own land to set up its own for the use of the town to reduce costs. That was not limited by the number of. It didn't fall into the same numbers.
So with that.
Yeah, section 5, under the application process and permit, section A, point D, is that any solar energy system to which the town is a material party, meaning that the town sets it up, they pay for it, they own it, they're getting the benefit of it, are exempt from the restrictions of section 5. So if we already have 3 medium arrays in town and the town itself decides they want to set up a medium array to benefit the town, then they're not subject to the same limits.
Is that a lawsuit, though? I mean,
I don't think so.
The lawyer didn't think so.
for what?
Our town lawyer who's reviewed this,
Nobody thought CMP would get the quarterback in there if we voted no.
CMP has more money than all of us do. So that's my argument there.
Tells by a legal.
I,
You guys over here have any questions? No? It's all clear? Crystal clear?
clear as mud.
That's what I was gonna say.
Leave it to me, Chris, I'll do it.
I have some, yeah, and then read over again before town meeting, and make sure that you come deciding, are you for it or against, because that will be really the place. where you
Yes,
decide
that's-
if it's going to affect.
That's the final say.
Mhm. And like Brian had mentioned earlier, if at town meeting, this is a no, everybody or the majority of folks here vote no on it, then it doesn't pass and we go back to the drawing board. That's the process.
And I know there was a lot of concern, Jim, about, you're affecting somebody's livelihood. I mean, if somebody's planning to lease a big chunk of land to a solar operation, that's income for them, and this is telling them they can't have that income, and that was a concern.
That's why this town, 90% of people don't get a permit, they do whatever they want. They can drive around and look at code. We don't need more codes in America, we got too damn many now. Look at this town, just honestly, you take a look around and look. Go right up 140, right up here, head to the lake. Take a look around.
No other questions?
One thought.
Yes, sir.
It gets voted down, we're doing this in Wilton right now. If your gets voted down, I believe the moratorium stays in place. You may want to
It
check.
has to be extended.
It would have to be extended.
We would have to look at the number of days, it was 180 days, we would just have to see where the number of days is. And then, if the number of days is still good, that would be in effect, if it's not, then that would have to be revoted.
I think one of the things that people were a little bit concerned about was when they saw there's a small, or what is perhaps now medium, proposed on Canton Point Road. If you're going towards Dixfield, and the trailer park is on the left, in the next field past that.
It's the old, gravel dragon plant location.
Yeah, so somebody was proposing one for there, and the one that's been kind of in the works for several years, but hasn't officially gotten permitted yet by the state is.
Huge.
Was huge, that was taking up, land up by the windmills, but also in the old,
Fairgrounds.
fairgrounds, kind of right there on Main Street, off to the back there where it's wide open. And that was, I forget how many acres that was.
A lot.
For something, was like,
Like 100?
Yeah, it's over 400 acres.
yeah, it's 400, I wanna say 80 something, but I don't know if that's accurate. Finding which book to look in.
Oh, it is.
Which one, top or bottom?
There's a map in that white one that tells you.
What, Diane?
Well, there's maps in the front pocket that will tell you the size of it. And I think that's part of what, prompted the ordinance was
Yeah, it's not this one.
the people who didn't like the ones up behind the nursing home, but also the fact that this is 400 and some acres. It's huge.
Oh, that one.
And is that what you wanted for the town's character? That was the question.
Both of these binders, by the way, are part of
Three
the
binders,
there's
application
three
process.
binders.
Yeah,
That's-
and another one, just like that.
That note that I sent you guys a while, but that had.
60 megawatt.
So I know it was over 400.
So I have on my laptop, I don't have it.
It's 60 megawatt, I can,
This is the one with all the hash marks. Do you have the hash mark? No. You know where the hash mark one is, Diane?
It's all in the one of those folders somewhere.
Oh, wait, do I have it? I do not. I do not. I don't know, because the one that we looked at, the night you weren't here, had ashes everywhere. Which is not, yes, That's part of
that
it.
one, because it
Yeah.
has the.
if
breakdowns on
anyone would
the-
like to take a peek at that. We can explain it.
What did say?
Yeah, but I mean, that's only one of them, that's the second one is.
That's elevation numbers.
No, but that's a. It's in a plan. Too much stuff. I'm going through that. We really didn't know what we're doing, we just went through it right now.
Between
That
phase
was-
one and phase.
That, it's in that. Somebody call on fishing.
I'm fishing too.
Any more questions, Rick?
Your folding is still excellent, please. You could do road that.
I was gonna say, not bad for someone who hates math.
Diane, at that last meeting I went with you, you said you were gonna go to the state and see how you could generate any income off these. Did you find out anything on that?
I've called a few people, I've got no clear answers. But I'm gonna keep going, I'm not gonna give up on that, but people don't wanna return a call, and then when you ask that question, they're like, go talk to your assessor. So they're not being very helpful.
Well, I meant on a larger scale, not the small
So that's rated for. The one behind the nursing home is rated for 3 megawatts. The proposed one on Canton Point Road is 996 kilowatts, so it's just below 1 megawatt level.
This is all.
The two-phase project, which is on London Lane, the fairgrounds is rated for 65 megawatts. It covers 429 acres proposed. So that's all fenced in. So the one farm return that, people are using as kind of a frame of reference is, so that's 65 megawatts, Farmington is 76.5 megawatts. So it's about 10% bigger.
About how many acres is there in Farmington? I know when you look at farm.
500.
Wow.
Probably close to 500.
Got me around 500.
Oh, Lisa, it's yeah, this one was gonna be 4 something.
429.
Yeah, so that was.
429, not.
So for frame of reference, it's comparable.
Did you say the ones you just listed again?
Yep, the nursing home, the one behind the nursing home is 3 megawatts. I don't have the acres. The proposed one on Canton County Road is 996 kilowatts, so just below 1 megawatt, because there's some state regulations that kick in at 1 megawatt and higher, so they're just a little bit below that. That is. I don't know how many, that was about 5 acres, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bella's under medium, yeah.
Yep, and then the one that's this two-phase approach in 2 locations, but 1 big project, that's the 65 megawatts, and that's 429 acres.
And that's the one at London Lane.
It's got London Lane and the
Yeah.
old
It's
fairgrounds.
split between two
Up on that
locations.
quarter.
The 429 acres is split between 2 different locations. Same project.
I mean, we were looking at the maps and how many solar panels there is there, and we realized that was 1 corner of the entire map that we were looking at.
There's a lot of that there, you can't even see it unless you're on the space shuttle.
Well, and yeah, so that.
100 and some odd acres would be on mine, and it's, you can't even see it unless you're on the space shuttle, climb up in a tree, 200-foot tree.
Right, so the setbacks and the kind of wooded buffer of stuff that's up by London Lane was great, and that's the one we won't be able to see. I think that the one on the fairgrounds.
Yeah, that attaches to mine, so that's the same system.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna see it. Big difference between Farmington and
For the fairground, you're right, the fairground one you would see though, all the stuff that's in the fairground.
not much, because there's only a little opening when you go around the corner. Where, Bradbury owns is a little road right away out through, that's it. I think it's just sad you're limiting a lot of stuff with this ordinance.
It's up to the people.
I didn't say it wasn't, but you know, there's a lot of soldiers that die because of stupid oil too.
But that, okay, we talked that, but we're talking this tonight, Jim.
I'm just saying that's part of the whole system.
It is, you know, I'm all for renewable energy, I'm not great, I kind of wonder how they're gonna be sustainable after the government subsidies pull out, like, are they actually making any money at that point? But,
How long has gasoline been subsidized?
right,
Farmers been subsidized. You know, there's a lot of subsidized all over the
Jim?
country.
We understand you are against the ordinance. That is your opinion. Come June 13th, the town meeting, vote. That's all we can tell you.
Yeah, the only thing I would want to know, which I didn't ask nicely, even still ask nicely, how come an average person can't change something in here?
well, you can, so we're gonna make sure that that 10-foot limit from the ground mount is clear, and, I mean, do you want, what suggestions would you have for changes, Jim?
I don't think it matters. I think it's the same old saying, you gotta know when you're shoveling shit against the car.
So the one thing I'm gonna say, Jim, there is a selectman's position right now open that nobody took papers for. There's 3 planning board positions that nobody has papers out for, so there are openings for anybody in town to volunteer and or get paid a little bit of money to volunteer and help. It's something that there are opportunities. The thing is, townspeople are not helping right now. There's a very small amount of people that are doing, so unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast.
It's not just us, it's everybody.
At the end of the day, the taxpayers on the town meeting and an election day will make a decision on the entire budget and everything. But there are open positions that we would love people to take out papers and run for.
Yeah, but if you got a certain amount of people on the thing, then it's gonna change that sort of thing. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying in general, for anything. If you wanna help make a difference or have input on stuff, one of the best ways is to run for stuff, Jim. That's
You
one of
know,
the best ways to get involved.
I've lived in this town for a long time, since 82. I donated all kinds of time. I can't now because I work with workaholics, I work night, day, weekends, 7 days a week. Never took a vacation in my life. That's my own fault. But I'm just saying, I don't have the time. I just think ordinances, you know, are restricting us in this country. That's what I'm saying.
It can't be a Wild West free for all though. I
I don't think
mean,
we
you know,
have to allow West Street.
this is getting us nowhere.
So would you like to, I mean, so your suggestion is to either not have an ordinance at all, or to change it to allow more bigger arrays?
Well, bigger, why not bigger arrays? I don't understand it. Would you rather, let me just say, you start down here in Canton, 108, and you drive 108, and you take a good look and see what you see. Would you rather have that? Or would you rather look at a solar panel?
I'd rather look at, no,
Would you?
yep.
Wow. So it's all right to have nothing against anybody, but a junkyard, a rundown trailer, and trash all over the place is okay in a solar panel? That's
You
your
have
opinion.
ordinances against rundown trailers and junkyards as
You're
well.
right, Jim, that's my opinion, and you have yours. So it's going to town meeting to vote on, and we'll go from there.
Yes, sir.
I just have one suggestion, which kind of fits, because I live over there, I know the Pleasant Brook Field well. Is that you should look at the visibility, can it be seen? If it can't be seen, as you mentioned, there's woods around it. That you should build some flexibility in the ordinance if a person can prove that you can't see this. And
Right. I mean, there's in there that there's a visibility, assessment, basically.
Limiting the size, and you just said this, you said that even if it's not visible, you can't do it. That's the only thing I would.
My point on that is, but then that's almost a judgment call. Because I live on the other side of the river and I come to Canton every day several times. What I can see at the old fairgrounds is different than probably people flying by. The people that live on the dump road can look down on the old fairgrounds. So there's their visibility. I mean, that's a judgment call of what. And there you get into that fun.
I
Well,
don't
there-
disagree, but that's what the planning board has to make on the appearance decision. and you've eliminated that, when somebody truly, and I didn't know Canton that, I'm just thinking about Wilton and how we do it, which is completely different, so I'm learning as I do this, but if somebody has something that clearly, because of the way it's sloped, and the way it's in the woods, whatever, you might not be able to see it. It might ultimately have help your tax base. And the only thing I can say to you guys is you should consider a TIF on this stuff, because that would put the money in your hands. The tax dollars kind of get paid, but they come back to you, and it sits in your use. We did this in Wilton. Let me use it, if I may, an example. Comfort Inn was built in Wilton, and we entered into a TIF agreement with them. And the way it worked is the first year, they got all of their property tax back, 100%. The end of the 10th year, we got it all. And it sits in our TIF, and we've now expanded to 30 years. So we can use those tax dollars in the community. We use it to buy a fire truck, to use it to economic development, to work on the cemeteries. We've used that money, and it keeps it out of your school budget. Keeps it out of your evaluation, which the school can't touch. They did that in Kingfield with Poland Springs. That's.
So I'm familiar with TIFs, but if the land doesn't increase in value, it's a moot point.
But I think it will, I really.
That's why we have to wait for the assessor to tell us.
I was interested in the debate. I think it actually will, because those solar panels are worth so many dollars. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Just remember that.
Well, that's
No, that's a good point.
I think we underutilize TIFs in this
I
town.
agree.
Absolutely. Is this a place to use them? I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what the tax assessment on the solar farm in Farmington, what was valued at before, what is valued at now, and what their tax revenue is.
That might be apples and oranges, because I'm sure that land was primarily taxed at farmland rate, which, which is different than woodlot rate or anything, so.
What is the percent increase?
Right.
But remember, Farmington, some of that was put on,
Yes,
so it wasn't all on the field.
Right.
They actually cleaned the back part.
Yep.
So that's a discussion really for the planning board, after this public hearing, is to say, do we, that's a great point. If you can show, we have, a visual assessment is one of the requirements. If you can show that it's essentially invisible from main thoroughfare or from adjoining properties, would you allow additional size?
The hard thing is with that, Diane, is, so as of today, say I have a piece of property that has, say I own 100 acres and I want to put a solar farm in the middle of it or more than that. But I'm going to leave X amount of trees around the outside so it's not visible by anybody. That's what I'm going to do today. So you approve my application.
Right.
As soon as my application is approved, I'm going to cut every single tree there is because I need to increase.
and lumber prices go
And
up.
hit my panels.
Right.
So at that point, now it's visible to the entire world. So that would be my concern with that, is yes, it's approved, it's, and you don't see it from the road, you don't see it from Bob that lives next door or whatever, but, a year down the road, all of a sudden, something happens and I cut all my trees and sell them for lumber or whatever, and then, boom, now it's visible by everybody and it's already there, so it can't get torn down.
The only thing I would suggest is that if you had that happen, you get encumbered out of the permit pretty easily.
All good points.
And I just wanna, I know we talked a lot on appearance and visibility today, but those weren't the only concerns that were discussed at the work session that we had in writing, well, before the planning board went back and wrote the ordinance. Diane had mentioned some of the other ones, about animal habitats, the chemicals or materials that the solar panels that are used in the solar panels to build them. And all of that, that work session was held before the fire happened at this last one, and I'm sure that would have been part of the discussion. So it's not just visibility and appearance that drove this ordinance to be written. It was coming on the heels of the comprehensive plan being updated and, to preserve the character of the town, and are a bunch of solar farms going to change the look of our town? Is it going to change animal habitat in our town? Is it going to change recreation use of trail systems in our town? Is it going to hurt the land with the stuff that's either in the solar panels or used to maintain the vegetation around the solar panels? So those were, it wasn't just visibility and appearance and, all of that. It was definitely a lot more factors that came into play.
As
And,
well as the fact that
Right.
the town overwhelmingly voted for the moratorium, which.
right,
I feel it.
I can just tell you that all the board did go to the snowmobile club, the ATV club. And develop a trail system for them, if any trails were on theirs, they would also have the access to still use that trail.
Nobody's called me.
Well, it might have been before you, because.
I don't think so.
I've been on, I've been running the.
Been on it since
It's all that passed away, run the food bank.
Steve Wills.
Well, they, yeah.
They never come to me, and I've been on a ATV
Well, I guess
for
because,
20 years.
yeah, but maybe you didn't have an existing trail on there.
Oh, no.
You didn't have an existing
Yeah.
ATV trail on that property, you wouldn't know that,
Yeah.
so they wouldn't
They
come
just
and talk.
will put it on, maybe. Post.
Well, they did have a public, they did have a public meeting or something. Yeah, they were more than willing to work with ATV clubs, whatever.
I'd have to say Olivewood Engineering has been very forthcoming, they've been very supportive, they've been they give us any information we're asking for, they've been very, very helpful. They're good guys.
So if anyone would like to see what the scale looks like for the largest one that we haven't heard anything about for 3 years. All of the nice little hash marks on this will kind of blow you away.
Which one's that?
That's the one for London Lane and the fairgrounds.
The 429 acres,
Yeah.
when you look at it on a map.
It puts it in perspective. It really does. I mean,
Please forgive me for asking, but where are the fairgrounds or where were they?
you know, where Ranger Mill Road is?
Yeah.
It's Ranger Mill Road,
It's just before the parking lot.
right, so between Ranger Mill and the parking lot. There's a little road that
Yeah,
shoots out, like the old fairgrounds.
The old railroad track, it's up behind that.
I want to look at it.
Yeah, come on up.
Yeah.
Come on, Diane.
Be our guest.
Put it out, sorry.
All of these are panels, proposed panels.
Oh,
Yeah, there's one or two. Yeah, that's what we thought.
Oh, sorry.
I don't have them in order, I don't believe.
It doesn't say roads on here.
so all of these
Or
will be
panels.
panels, yeah,
Yeah,
all right.
we put them in order, Diane.
I'm looking C20209, 20207, 20210, 28. So this connects to 20209.
This is 7.
So this connects to this.
So what one's that? Ron?
This is kind of here.
I'm trying to get it out.
That's 8. I'm gonna give it out. This connects to 9, 20209. Yeah, so this might be.
2027.
This is 08. Okay.
I don't know what that is. This is.
This is 7.
So 7 and 7 go together.
Yeah.
Those red lines. There we go.
Yeah.
This is 210, 20211.
This is 7. This is 9. This connects to 8.
We don't have to see.
Am I missing one?
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't even know which. Looking sleep they can have at this point.
This is 9. 17.
Oh, this is 10, okay, so these two connect.
Because one is.
One's 11,
Where's the road?
It's trying to find it.
Oh, this-
14.
wait a minute, oh, that one.
One empty pocket.
Must be where it came from.
I got 11,
So this goes, these two go under here,
12,
this goes here,
13.
these two come up here.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just make that. I'll make that.
Right, so if we bend these come up here.
There we go. How's that?
This is next step.
Now you got it. Wait.
Skills.
I do, I can refold them. I've been taught by the best.
I'm honored. I'm honored.
You better write that down, Rick, 'cause it won't happen again.
And this is,
Count 'em.
this is a.
It's recorded. It'll be in the archive.
You know where small slips?
Right before the trailer park down in
Okay.
Advent Valley. Yeah.
Okay,
And this one's 600 acres.
well, this is only one section of it.
One section of
Okay, you spoke about the chemicals in the solar panels. So how are they replaced? They must,
They have a procedure for taking out of the pipe and they're on YouTube.
Okay.
We don't really have any control over, other than the ordinance says, and I've been trying to help, we're trying to minimize the amount of hazardous materials that they use. They have to follow standards for removing it, and everybody's required to, when the life of the solar farm is over, they have to return their land. Now, if they've had to clear a bunch of wood, I doubt they're gonna replant. But theoretically, they take out all the bases, all the things, remove all the fences.
That's also a state reg.
Yes,
It's not-
it is.
yeah, it's not-
They have to post a bond before they start permission to cover the cost of reclaiming. The decommission.
Killing the birds.
Do you have any posting?
By state.
Before they begin construction.
State law.
So this is one section, I think.
Yeah, I started digging.
I'm looking for the road, where's the reverse road? This might be.
Yeah,
And then you're not gonna see because it ain't next to the road. So
I got 201 to 205, then to 211.
So it's stuff. Okay, so this represents, this quarter panel of the ones up on Leonard Lane, this is the panels that are down there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know which 4 we've got at the moment, but so there's 10 panels, like these, 10 sheets like this that constitute the one over on the fairgrounds, and there's 6 panels. To constitute the one on Leonard Lane. So this is this panel here.
some of them don't connect either, they're just connected by the power line. They're gonna have a power line, they bought at least all the way from Campbell Road to Hazmat Gully. They bought at least it.
Yeah, so this panel here represents that one box right there.
okay, no, the fairgrounds is the same area where they are looking at drilling a well or.
No, it's behind.
So this is.
That I didn't even good
We're
find.
looking at the fairgrounds
This is
where they're working on here.
To the right of these 4 right
Okay.
here.
If you go back into your road, you see what color you is, we started the building. It's right on the edge of hit that property.
Okay.
So.
So they're separated.
Yeah.
So this is 4 of 10, maybe 6 more of these boxes.
We lost a lot.
You gotta go park over at the park and ride and go walking all over there. There you go.
Yes. Yeah, we walk, as if the plant road up the Scotty.
Yeah.
Do that.
That's what I was too.
I'm still old fashioned.
Oh, here it is. Looks like an inch is 100, 200 feet. 100 feet. from
So,
now.
if we walk up there and somebody gonna come at us and say we're trespassing, or do we have to?
1,600 feet.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
well,
Again, this is. Before they go below here, and then they stagger over, and there's four more. Which way?
Just stay on the track.
Break down how much-
Check camera.
Yeah.
If you don't have it, I'm just curious.
I don't have it.
You can, walk trails out, get you right out to the railroad bed, come right out to Cedar Field.
Brad tried to call in, but I just.
I always thought that.
He said, okay. I didn't realize.
Funny, I'm curious.
Right.
Curious.
Very well.
Puerto Rican. Yeah, I knew that he was going to Puerto Rico.
They've done a lot.
Wait, I was thinking, like smack.
Well, well, it's gone.
Question. I tried to call the town a couple times, to find out for sure you were meeting here, but no one ever answered. Me. So is there somebody I can come call?
Yeah, well, so Aaron was, did you call her?
So I saw this in the paper.
Oh, yeah.
And I think she even got it wrong in the paper because I think she talked about a window. I got to check. A lady wrote it for the wrong times. But it doesn't matter. I just want, who's the best person to get in touch with and keep updated, how to change it or what you do.
Let me give you my number.
And I'll give you my number too.
No.
That would be wonderful.
I'll keep one.
I'm Tom.
Hi, Tom.
I used to be the state senator. For 18.
Want to write down the email phone number?
Yes, please.
Do you think you're gonna have a planning board meeting?
I
Cause I can ask to hop in.
Yeah. I can write up the docs.
Yeah, all right.
That's okay. You know, I've lost far too many people that have been my door.
You made a lot of sense for them, transition.
I don't live there.
It'll help the school system and the town a lot. Keeps you from getting the whole, tips keep you out of the school system. It helps.
Right.
You have
Yeah,
your-
shifts work, but right now, nobody's been able to come with the valuation.
Yeah.
To be on this land.
You guys still
Can I have the piece?
available?
So see,
You don't have to connect to the sidewalks and stuff, Mark?
Where's the regular job? Apparently, I've not asked.
I'll say, yeah.
He's a good guy. He's a great guy. When you told Paul, I told him.
No, but yeah.
I used to, I was selecting. Paul's great and even give you an idea of what it's worth. But, you know, when you put a can, it costs quite a bit. That's got a property.
Wow.
So-
Right.
So when it comes to the price, even if there's a full max, it doesn't matter. Fairgrounds or whatever. And it, you know, we use the tip significantly when it comes to the kind of conditions. We use the tip and when they put the windows, they, well, that money's still provided just because they never change. So they can use it to recommend, whatever the town, you have to, if you get some of these guys.
Yeah.
You negotiate with them to get them to pay for the tip. Because that's about $10,000 to get a tip written. Have them write it.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
benefit you can get.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to be-
No, I'm taking classes about it. I know how to get your money.
You know exactly what I'm saying. It's, you know, you go to identify what you'd like to spend your money on and you spend your money on.
Like,
it.
I can't.
It's kind of boom.
Well, that's why I can't. But that's not.
Sure.
Yeah.
They hired a consultant who did it. We have a million projects.
I am shutting down soon. The end of this meeting.
Exactly.